Hello there everybody and welcome. In this video I want to talk a little bit about what I personally think about the Necromancer rework in the Wolf update. I did a couple of builds, I played a couple of hours with these around, and I think I'm ready to give you guys a little bit of a feedback and a review what I personally think is good and what could be better. So let's start with the good things first. So first things first, we really feel like Necromancers now. What I really like is that we got Battlefield Resurrects, that we got more versatile ranks of skeletons. That all is pretty cool, and I really like it. Also, I personally like a lot where the tomes are now at. The power curve of these is really nice. The Tome of Necromancy rework into the Tome of Souls rework is brilliant. I really do love that we have Rotting Explosion, Necromancer, and Necrotize in their current forms. Skeleton reanimation really feels good. All in all, I love the new Tier 1 Necromancy Tome. It's a really good thing that overall pleases me and feels very powerful. You have very strong spells that stay relevant all over the game. Rotting Explosion is really nice, as you can just utilize your battlefield summons, and heck, you have a lot of these. And I absolutely like that we got necrotic magic for all of our magic users. So your damage profile with that one's really high. So that's a very well deal. The Tome of Souls rework also love it. It's a very brilliant thing. We have a very strong fighter in it. We have soul binders, which is really more powerful than I saw it coming, as the 30% chance of a decaying zombie is stupidly high. So any Necromancer build with battle mages and supporters can just amp up the amount of summoned units passively to mind-boggling rates. I like that. The Bone Horror rework also top-notch. We have now pretty much everything we had before. It's just a tier higher, and the Corpse Cage ability, I like that. We have now payoff when that thing falls below 50% and not when it dies. Yep, nothing to sneeze at either. Really good stuff. So at tier 3, we also gain then the few reworks on the Great Transformation, namely Bone Dragon Reanimation, so we can now reanimate tier 5 units into tier 4 units. Quite the downgrade, but I do understand why you cannot have access to a tier 5 unit in a tier 3 book. Although I must say, it would have been cool if we'd had that on tier 4 and not on tier 3. In all honesty, oh, it's okay. Bone dragons being a downgrade to real living dragons, fine. Draco liches are not the apex of the dragon kind. I'm okay with that. So this one is a real nice add-on into the book. Apart from that, nothing big has changed. When we go deeper into the other tomes, Great Transformation here, there's not much to say about it. Reaper, though. Hey, Reaper. Marked for Death is an amazing spell now. I don't know if it ain't maybe too powerful. So it is a guaranteed kill now, either via morale when they flee or just 15 points of damage per turn. Whatever. You gain also a zombie if they die, so this is a really nasty spell, paid with souls, and does a lot of damage. And the Reapers, well, they always been good, and as far as I've seen, they had a little bit of a rework here, but I can't really remember what kind of things changed. I'm very sorry about that. But all in all, this feels also very powerful. So we have now, with the current iteration of the Necromancers, a good early game, but it is not as impressive as with other cultures. In all honesty, a high culture early game or a mystic culture early game feels way more powerful than these. So they're kind of a slow starter now. Also, the skeletons are all nice and dandy, but they inherit the race of where they come from, so you don't have that much of a power there. So I want to end up with good things, though, before I go into the critics. And so what I really like about the current power curve, you start out a little bit weak. The skeletons are really only riffraff fillers. They're not bad in all due respect. They are good tier 1 units, especially since we are specialized in buffing up undead units, but they die like flies, and we cannot really specialize them as we have to be happy with whatever we can raise on the fly, because the traits on these will be always very unreliable and different. The really good stuff about it is we have now 4 different types of skeletons. That means you can now adapt the skeletal troops to your current playstyle. I like that. This is a real big upgrade towards we only have spears. That's where we were before, so yep. Now, all in all, Necromancers got buffed. Don't get me wrong when I now go to the points that I don't like, or that I would like to see implemented better. They are powerful. They are weighted heavily into the late game, in my humble opinion at least, and that's a good thing. Nothing is more obnoxious than Necromancers taking over the game right from the get-go. But now, to my criticisms. First off, I'm so sad that we cannot recruit any of these units in any city. Like, cities have graveyards. Necromancers tend to have people ritually sacrifice and whatnot. So, in my personal opinion, it makes no sense, except for balancing's sake, to not make these units available in cities. This is really painful, as it makes it quite hard to make your army truly undead. I have real trouble with doing so, because the skeletons are so horrible bad, and the other units that you could get, you have to actively hunt them. Bone horrors and bone dragons are obnoxiously hard to get. In my current guides, I do recommend players to go, if they want to have bone dragons, and conserve the places where you can't find tier 5 units to actually have access to these. But with all the sessions I've played, I had a really, really low amount of bone dragons, all in all. That feels pretty sad, and the inability to recruit any of these units in your cities feels weird. It just feels weird. I'd be okay if they'd be cheaper if resurrected on the battlefield, okay? I don't mind that. If balancing-wise it would be too strong for them to be recruitable in cities, which I highly doubt because you still have to pay in souls, it is... yeah, I really don't get it. I mean, fine, don't give us the bone dragons for free, even if I think it is pretty obnoxious that they are so hard to get, but maybe it is a fine thing that it is that way. But I don't agree with the point that we cannot recruit anything in our cities. That feels odd and bad. The other thing that bothers me very, very much about the new recruitment system is that any banner that is recruited after a fight starts without any movement points. This brought me into so many odd and bad situations. Imagine I had several situations in battle where I went into a big situation where the AI had more than 3 banners fielded. So I broke up the enemy and resurrected a couple of these, but I had to fight more than one battle in one turn. So I like to refill my ranks, and then that one banner can't move anymore. To add insult to injury, your reinforcements that you want to use the same turn, due to the fact that they cannot move, it becomes really odd to maneuver around that. Okay, maybe I tried to power game in that situation, but the other point is, whenever I resurrect troops, I have to stand still for a turn. That bothers me a lot. This feels really clunky, and makes the whole recruitment part on the battlefield feel bothersome. I often find myself not recruiting anything after battles if it is a dangerous situation, but I find that, again, very very anticlimactic, because necromancers, they thrive on just rising what falls up and keep marching. That's the picture, at least, that I imagine when I play necromancers. But these necromancers currently have to take tea time after resurrecting, and I don't get it, and I don't like it. So maybe it would be too strong, maybe give them only 50% movement, I don't know. But currently, it bothers me a ton that we have still situations like these. Third point that I really dislike currently is still the Whiteborn. I get it that there have to be downsides, but in all honesty, it feels like the weakest major racial transformation still. It is really powerful to have lifesteal. no doubt. But it is also really funky to have -8 on your resistances while gaining only +4. You know, that's net negative. That's not cool. That's major. All the other major transformations feel much more beneficial. This one is the only racial transformation, the major transformation, where I always keep saying, guys, watch out your enemies. They might be heavily crapping on you in response of turning all of your roster undead. So there is a lack of payoff on this one, and I really dislike that. I would be totally okay if we would be buffing it up and turning it in a higher tier, although I do get the point. Shadow is insanely good at racking up knowledge like crazy. It's just innate in their skill tree. They are really good researchers. All these skills here are extremely good at producing knowledge, so it might be too powerful if we'd be given something like that. But even if we have to shoulder the downsides of being undead, I don't want to opt out of that in any way. I'd still like something more versatile than just freaking lifesteal. I mean, I could pick up mana addicts and have the same right from the get-go, and it is not that much of a game breaker. It is good, no matter, no question, but it's not that good. And I'm really sad that there was this missed opportunity to do something out of that thing, because I really feel every time underhyped whenever I use that. So these are, though, my major criticisms. My fourth and minor nitpick is skeletons are obnoxious because you can't select what kind of race they belong to. It is no fun using them because your racial traits are just all over the board. I don't know. Maybe it is a weakness that is supposed to be there, but I still feel like it would be amazing if we'd be able to just resurrect locally what kind of undead we want, what kind of skeleton species we want. It would make the early game and the skeletons in general more useful, and it would be a really nice thing to have more versatility. Bringing me to the last point that I personally find extremely sad, and that are 2 points, namely, 1, no, or 3 actually, 3. No elite skeletons, no elite zombies, and no liches. Come on, guys, these are staples of the necromancy. We don't have any good high-ranking zombies. We don't have any epic skeleton knights or anything which is actually a threat on the battlefield. It would be amazing if these dudes had some form of evolution, I don't know, anything. But as much as I like the current form of necromancy in Age of Wonders, I feel like there is still a lot of leeway to be taken here, so. But to go now into the last part of the video, I personally think it was a missed opportunity from the start to have no Necromancer culture. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe they're still working on that. Maybe this will come. I don't have any insights on that. But in the current iteration, Wolf Update Necromancers are much better than they were before. Don't get me wrong with all the bad things that I said just a few minutes ago. It's just things that I wish would be better. But in its current form, you have to live with a relatively weakish early game. I don't want to call it weak, because it's not weak at all. It is, though, very not as impressive as other ones, but it's still the power fantasy to getting into the later stages and having reapers and all these powerful undead effects of undeath, and you know, it's really good. The soul economy feels good. Souls now play a role for spells and good summons, and if you ever have too many souls, you can spend them in undead armies, so you feel like you have a really good rolling economy thing going on with your necromancy. I like all that, but still, a few things of clunk, like the immobile resurrections. I really despise that the most, in all honesty. The lack of recruitment in the cities is also feeling a little bit weird, and the exclusiveness of a couple of troops and the lack of a few staples of fantasy necromancy. These are my personal gripes. But beyond that, I love current necromancy. Try it out for yourself. I made a couple of guides for builds, so check them out if you'd be so kind. I'd be very happy. Drop me your comment what you personally think. My standpoint was an entirely PvE standpoint. I have no clue how that all works out now in PvP, so enlighten me. I'd be really down for some knowledge about that, because I could imagine that currently in PvP they're kicking butt quite hard, but I don't know anything about Age of Wonders 4 PvP. Leave a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and check out the description box. Lots of cool links down there to my Discord, to my Twitch, and all the support things that you can go for if you want to support the channel. I'd be super grateful. Big thanks to all of you who already did that. I deeply appreciate, and a big thanks to you right now watching this video. Thanks for staying with me until the end of the video. Hope you had a good time, and see you on the next one. Bye bye.